Hello, welcome back to the channel, and this is a channel where we give you reviews, playthroughs, unboxings, and we generally like to talk a lot of bollocks about tabletop gaming in general. And in this video we're going to be talking about a sports game by Eric M. Lang. We're going to be talking about Kaosball, and in this game you will be assuming the role of a coach for one of a multitude of fantasy based teams. You'll be trying to beat up the other players using special abilities to score points that will allow you to win the game. So in this video we're going to be giving you a very brief overview of the rules. We'll be telling you what we do like, what we don't like, and then we will come back and we'll tell you whether or not Kaosball is worth your time or bother today and in the future. So remember, if you're new here, then please consider subscribing to this channel. Leave a comment in that section down below. We'll see you after this. Bollocks. So, Kaosball. How do you play this game? So the first thing you're going to do is you will choose one of the 4 teams in the box to play. If you've got some of the expansions, obviously you're going to have more choice out of who you play, but this game comes with 4 basic teams. You choose one of them, you take the player board, stick it in front of you. You'll draw 7 action cards and put them into your hand. Depending on whether you're playing the advanced game, you will then draft some special upgrades or some ringer characters. You'll decide who's going to be the first player, and then you will begin the game of Kaosball. So if you're playing the advanced version of this, first thing you're going to do is you're going to be drafting some upgrades or some ringer characters. The way the draft works is that dependent on how many players you're playing with, then there'll be a certain number of upgrades or ringers on offer. The first player will then choose one of the upgrades or the ringers to auction off, and then it's just a case of who bids first. You'll give up a certain amount of cash, and then you'll place the upgrade on your little magnetic player board, or you'll take the ringer into your play area. So this is a sports themed game in the vein of like sort of Blood Bowl, Dread Ball, that sort of thing. You know, you're going to have 2, 3 or 4 teams going off against each other, trying to score different points in different types of ways. This is a turn-based game, so on your turn you're going to have a certain amount of options that you can take. So the first thing you're going to consider is if your runner or ringer is on a scoring mound, then you're going to score a certain amount of points. The scoring mounds in the centre of the board are going to score you 1 point, and the scoring mounds that are directly behind the team that's opposite you on the playing area are going to score you 5 juicy points, right? So next thing you're going to do, if you've scored or not, then you will choose whether to play a tactic card from your hand, or you will activate one of the figures that's on the board. Tactic cards are the blue cards that are in your hand, and some of the tactic cards that you might be able to play are, you might be able to play Ring of Fire, and this tells you to put a fire token on 2 different unoccupied non-scoring spaces, and then you can activate a figure. Of fire will do 1 damage if a player runs into it, right? Or you might have Wall of Stone, and this tells you to put 2 wall tokens on lines between spaces. Walls block movement and kill zones, and then you can activate a figure. And what you do, the game comes with these like plastic wall things that make this really annoying sound, right? They go some way into sort of hemming a player in and limiting the amount of options they got when they move, right? So if you choose not to play a tactic card, then you've got the option of activating a figure. You'll choose one of the figures, and then you'll have a certain amount of actions that you can do with that figure, right? Any figure can sprint, in which case you'll move them 5 spaces in any direction. They can't move diagonally for some bizarre reason, but that's it. You're just gonna have to live with that, and you know what I mean. Bruisers and ringers can attack. Bruisers are the big beasts. They haven't got the ability to score. Ringers can attack as well, because they're sort of like a jack of all trades type thing. Or bruisers and ringers can tackle. Right, there's another thing you've got to remember as well, is if you move into an enemy's kill zone, which is any space that is orthogonally adjacent to a figure, then bruisers and ringers have got the opportunity to attack or tackle, and then runners or ringers will have the opportunity to steal the ball. So if you tackle, if you attack, or you try and steal the ball, then that will trigger a contest. Okay, so what you're going to do in a contest, you're going to look through your hand and you're going to play an energy card. And each energy card's got a number on it. And the main thing you've got to remember here is that you can only play 1 energy card of a certain number every period, right? So if you play the 5+ energy, then you won't be able to play another 5+ energy until the next period. If you haven't got a card you can play, you will still have to play a card, but it will be declared dead. And if you haven't got any energy cards in your deck, then you're going to have to play a cheat card or a tactic card anyway, right? And they will also be declared dead. So you'll play your card and then you'll add the relevant stat that applies to the contest that you're taking on your player board, and then whoever gets the highest number will win the contest. If you are trying to steal the ball, then you will nick the ball off the opposing player. If you try and tackle, then the opposing player is knocked over. They are out for the rest of the period. But if you lose a tackle, then you will be pushed back to an empty space. And if you can't be pushed back, then you will be knocked over, right? Finally, if you are trying to attack and you are successful, then the opposing player will take the difference in totals as damage. If they ever get more damage than what's on your player board, then they will be killed, and you will give the miniature to the player that killed you, and they will get points for that during scoring. So there's also cheat cards in the game. These are the red cards that you might find in your hand, and the card will tell you when you can play these bleeding cheat cards, right? So you might be able to play the Stim Pack cheat card, and this tells you that you can play it before a contest begins, and if your revealed energy card has a star on it, then you get to double your total. That's bloody good, isn't it? Or you might be able to play the Booster Brew, and this says play instead of an energy card. It counts as an energy card, and it's a +6 card. So this is a really powerful card that's going to get you out of that bleeding Kaosball jail, isn't it? One of the things you've got to remember when you are playing cheat cards is they might come back to bite you in the bum. You will have to pay off the referee for every cheat card you play, and it's going to cost you 1 cash. If you can't do it, you're going to pick up a foul. Each foul is going to cost you points during scoring. So the period ends when one player has burnt 9 cards. That means they've played 9 cards in front of themselves, yeah? And then every other player will have one more go, and then the period will end. If you've got a runner or a ringer standing on the high scoring 5-point mound, they will get 5 points regardless of whether they got the ball or not. Likewise, if you're standing on the low scoring mound, you'll get a point regardless of whether you got the ball or not. But we said you have to bribe the referee for every cheat card you played, and if you've got any cheat cards left, you'll roll the tiebreaker die, and for every +1 you'll get a foul, and every +2 you'll get 2 fouls. So there's 4 periods to this game. At half time you score a little bit differently, so you'll get points for having the most kills. If you've got the most kills, you get 3 points. If you've got the second most kills, you get 6 points. If you've got the third most kills, you get 3 points. Player with the most fouls will lose 5 points. And then what you do, you'll move everybody back to the line of scrimmage, and you'll go again. As you progress through the periods, you'll get more points for getting players onto scoring mounds, and at the end of the 4th period, player with the most points will be the winner of Kaosball. So what do we like about Kaosball? So the first thing that we really like about this game is the amount of variety that you have got, not only just in the call box, right, but also I think there's like 21 different teams that you can get for this. Obviously a lot of these teams are going to be really difficult to get because this game is nearly 7 years old, I think, and a lot of the decent stuff that you can get was Kickstarter exclusives. But that said, if you can get hold of some of the teams, you're going to have quite a lot of variety, and there's also a lot of variety with the ringers that are in the game. So you might be able to draft the old Spectre who can move through figures and walls. You might be able to get that beastly dragon who can move up to 3 additional spaces when activated. Or you might want to get old T-Bone who looks like Frankenstein, and T-Bone heals all damage at the beginning of your turn. So a lot of these ringers, they not only can tackle and attack and score points, but they will give you like a game-breaking special ability that adds a little bit more chaos to an already chaotic game. So the second thing that we really admire about Kaosball is the fact that this is one of the very few sports games, if not the only sort of football sports game, that allows you to play with 4 players. Absolutely fantastic. Straight out of the box, you don't need an expansion for that. It does get a little bit chaotic at 4 players, but that is the whole point in this game. The more the merrier. Whereas a lot of these football games like Blood Bowl, Dread Ball and Dribble Fever only let you play with 2 players. Kaosball has to be applauded for having the foresight to include 3 and 4 players straight out of the box. Love it. So the next thing that we really like about Kaosball is the fact that there are so many different ways to score points. Not only can you get the ball onto the scoring mounds during the period, if your runners or ringers are on the scoring mounds at the end of the game without the ball, then you still score points. It's really good that as the game progresses, you're going to be scoring more points for doing that. So in the 4th period, you're going to be getting 4 points for every time you do that. So the onus isn't on you just to go crazy and get points at the beginning. You can spend a bit of time if you want to trying to knock out some of or kill them off to get those bonus points at half time, and then focus on points at the end. So the different options that you've got here with regards to scoring are really, really interesting. So the next thing that we really like about Kaosball is the draft that's included in the game. So you're going to need to save money to pay off those corrupt referees if you're going to be using the cheat cards. But obviously, if you haven't saved any money and you've got the ringers or some upgrades, you're not going to have a lot of money to do that. So you're not going to be able to use the cheat cards as much. So there's like 3 different options on where you're going to go with those game breaking abilities. Are you going to go for the upgrades that are going to give you a permanent special ability? Are you going to go for the ringer that's going to allow you to find it easier maybe to score and to tackle and attack? Or are you going to be using them cheat cards to pull out, which are really, really powerful, but you're not guaranteed to get them into your hand when you want to? So those options are really, really fantastic, and they're sort of quite unique to this game, and you don't really see that many options in other sports games like this, you know. So what don't we like about Kaosball? So the first thing that we don't like about Kaosball is the card-based contest system. Means that there's going to be times when you just really don't have any cards in your hand, because you're going to be drawing back up to 7 cards. You aren't guaranteed to have that +5. Even if you do get one, you're only going to be able to play 1. And I don't really understand why they went for this. Surely it would have been better to have some sort of maybe deck building mechanism. All players have the same cards, and then you can draw cards into your hand and mix things up a little bit. The simple fact is that there's going to be occasions in the game where you are going to be just faced with playing a 1 you know you're going to lose, and there's nothing you can do about it, and that sucks. So the second thing that we don't like about Kaosball, and it stands in contrast to one of our plus points that we did mention, is that even though there is a massive variation in teams that you can get for this game, the actual differences that they provide are quite minimal. It's going to be a special ability and very, very minimal differences in stats. Don't forget that these teams are quite expensive, right? I know you're going to get some miniatures with that, but really, what's to stop you from maybe like just getting one of the scans off the CMON website and just using the generic miniatures that are in the game, right? There's loads of different variations, but the actual differences that they provide are quite feeble. So the next thing that we don't like about Kaosball is that it's very, very difficult to not move through an enemy's kill zone. The chances are, especially if you're playing with 3 or 4 players, that every time you move, you are going to be going through a player's kill zone. I know you've only got to do this once because any subsequent kill zones aren't counted, but it does bog the game down where you might be trying to make a run for it and there's no way to avoid the kill zone, and then you get knocked down and that player is out for the rest of the round. So I found myself wanting to go out and find a very small animal to stamp on. So the final thing that we don't like about Kaosball is that when figures take a lot of damage, the board is going to get cluttered with loads and loads of damage markers, and every time a figure moves you've got to drag the damage markers around with it. It's just not the best system for keeping track of damage. It might have been better had there been some sort of track or wheel thing on the player board where you can keep track of each player. I don't know how they would have worked it. This system where you're going to be placing these generic damage markers on the square is shite. So to summarise, is Kaosball still worth playing, or was it actually worth playing in the first place? But is it still worth playing today and in the future? And we are going to say no. It's a novel take on the football sports genre that has loads and loads of variety, but is let down by some really shoddy card play mechanics. This game is unfairly compared to Blood Bowl, whilst we do prefer this to Blood Bowl, because Blood Bowl is complete shit. There's still not enough meat on the bones to pell it to the top of the pack with regards to these sort of sports games. Having said that, it is an intriguing game. There's something in the back of my brain that keeps telling me to come back to this one and keep playing it and keep trying to figure out a way around that horrible card play mechanism, but we haven't found it yet. And really, at the end of the day, Kaosball sits on our shelf and just reminds us of one of those lone miserable supporters who's just suffered relegation. So there you go, that's Kaosball. Remember, if you're new here, please consider subscribing to this channel. Have a look at some of our other videos. We've got about 7,000 billion videos on this channel, so have a look at some of them. Check out our top 100 board games of all time that we're doing right now. The final episode will be aired on Christmas Eve, so look forward to that, and we'll see you next time.